right, guys, how we doing today? Sam here with you. It's Tuesday, the 23rd of April, and well, you guys saw the polling. A little surprised that Nasdaq was one of the top contenders here. We looked at it just 5 days ago. Not a lot of change here. Now, of course, we are putting in fresh new all-time highs here, so I'm assuming that's part of it. But just a quick review here. So this is a 3-day chart here, and I'm just in regular viewing. I would go to log view and you get a little more separation here. So you can see I've got us trading this as a 1-2. The 3 is in. We've done the 4, and now we're in the process of the 5. So now, of course, I know you can't see that here, but just to give you the context here, and of course note once we go to log scale how the upper parallel here seems to be framing that rather nicely here. So I'm going to come back out of log scale, just having made that point. We don't need to keep that on there. Well, let's go to a 4-hour here. Okay, so again, we did this a couple of days ago. So we got a WXY down here into our 4. Now, no question, this is tricky here. You guys saw me kind of struggle with a count here. So not a lot has changed. Shit, when did we do this? So we did it on the 18th. So we were sitting here. Where's the 18th? Oh shit! We were right in this zone here. So yeah, I guess I can see what you guys are curious about. So just for the quick review here, I've got us coming in as a 1. The 2 is in. We are still putting in the 3. Now that's per all the subdivision that we worked through on the 18th. So within the context of that, let's see if I get this. I think this does make it easier. So I've got us going 1, 2. Big 3 here, 4, and we're looking for the 5 of the 3rd at this degree. All right, so in blue here. So within that, I've got a couple of impulses here. So we gotta count for these. So from the 1, 2 here, I've got us going 1, 2. There's the impulse in my 3rd. 4. There's the 5 of 3. So that gives me within the 1, 2. Then yet again 1, 2. 3, 4, 5, right? So do you follow that? So that's in yellow, but the larger degree is here in white. That has us going from here at 1, 2, I'll just do it here, 3, 4, 5, right? So it's waves within waves within waves, right? So all the subdivision is there. Now this is just getting kind of interesting here because, so here's our prior high. So you got to look at this and you think, shit, is this the 5th? Are we in the 1 of the 5th? Think about that for a second, right? So if this is the 1 of the 5th, wow, do we have a lot more to go? But I'm a little bit uncomfortable leaning into that idea just yet. So at the moment here, we can just start doing some projecting to see if this plays out, and we're just, like I would with any chart here, we just use some traditional, typical projections and retracement levels to try and get an idea of could this be the 5th, right? Relative to where we've been. If that's the 4, well, of course we know how big the 3 is. But so there's a few things to note here. I should have done this here when we were back on the daily. Oh, can I do it here on the 3? Yeah, here's the 3-day. So just again, standard ops here, just looking for some wave relationships. So if we take the length of the 1 wave here, I'm going to project from the 4th wave here, right on that pivot. Looking for some sort of symmetry between those 2 waves, very commonly found. So often, common relationships would be 100, of course, we're through that. 1272, 1618 would be, that'd be a pretty good kick here in the 5th. But if you look at the symmetry, it would be, let me just zoom in here. So look at the length of time here. We're going from 02 to 08, right? So that's a 6-year 1-2. We're going to do our 5 from December of 18, in 6 months? Shit, I mean, anything's possible here, but this, well, let's do a couple other things here. Just look for some confluence, excuse me. So if this is my 2 and this is the 3 up here, I'm going to get right on that target. Well, here the 4 being between the 23 and the 38, not Not unusual, right? So here's the 2618. So I'm going to give this a fat target up here. So here's the algo target right now. There's a couple of different ways you can look at this. So I'm going to use this confluence up here. So really we have two spots here to pay attention here. This worth noting here. So this would be the 1618. So if I'm going to pull this off. We'll just look at a couple other things here. All right, so some contenders here, some potential levels that we might want to be paying attention to. Well, there is this to take note of here. Let me zoom out a little bit. Just can we see some overlap so we can get some decent targets, right? So if this is just going to keep going, it's just so the length of time is what's problematic here. So, but note this here. So from this 4 low at the lower degree right here in green, I'm just going to take the last pivot here before we go up. Get it right on there. Well, here's a just dominant swing to dominant swing. So here's, if you wonder why does it stop there? Well, so we don't have to wonder, right? So we know why it stops there, right? So that's an algo kicking in at the 50. It's going to have that as its target. Well, how can we get up there, right? So if this is going to be the 5, and that's going to be the 5 of the 5, and we're still looking for the 5th of the 3rd. I don't know where that is. Right? We don't have that yet, and no signs of slowing down here. But again, just trying to, can we map it out here that would make sense? Well, certainly the length of time is problematic, right, with regards to the symmetry. So we can't have a 6-month 5 and a 6-year 2. Well, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I mean, shit, anything's possible, but that would be very unusual. So you have to, just based on the symmetry here, it's hard to imagine this is going to be the 5 of the entire thing. So if you, boy, this is a tough one, guys. So if we hit this, you're hitting wave relationships that are very consistent with historical norms, right? In terms of wave relationship, length of the 1 projected from the 4, all of that, even just using the algo play, right? Just using the length of this gigantic 3rd. So here I'm kind of noticing, checking for other things that might help us with some of that projection, but if you think about, so let's just think about this as the alternate. So I'm going to put the 5 way up here. So let's say we get up here and this completes. This algo gets its target here. So we're going to get 3. So 3's still rolling. We're going to get 4 and 5. So we're going to, let's just, for the sake of the conversation here, let's say we get this and we come up here and we get that 5. Here, let's just put that in right there. All right. So that would mean if that were going to be the top of it, December 27th, again, I'm just eyeballing here to March. It just doesn't seem possible, right? The symmetry is so askew with if the 1-2, right? So first question, is that 1-2 correctly identified? There is, I should acknowledge this. Let me go back to, let me scrunch this up a little bit. So, right, so when you see this and you're like, it just doesn't seem to make sense that I couldn't. Could I have a 5 that was 6 months long and the 1-2? Well, maybe it's just here. The length of the 1 is from 02 to 07, a 5-year 1, a 6-month 5. It seems hard to reconcile that, right? It's just the symmetry would be so god awful. Well, so then you have to look at it and say, okay, where could I be? Where could I have this wrong? Well, I mean, certainly there is, I think I saw quite a few comments like this. The idea that this is a truncated C, right? And that this is not our 1-2. Right, so I'm just kind of thinking out loud here with you guys along for the ride here. If I've got this wrong, if this is A, B, C, and then we're just starting up here, well, what does that do for us? Well, we still have to reconcile that boy, it's hard not to see that this move here from our 09 lows up to, well, shit, as we've just now taken that high out, is really hard not to see this as a completed impulse. Boy, the subdivision, right? So, then you start thinking, well, could the 3, 4, and 5 be up here? If that's wrong, is it possible that this would be the big 3 here? But I don't think you can make that work. I don't think it works as well because there's just the subdivision here is too clear. And even if you did that, I don't think it. All right, so I'm just trying to think. You know, how is this going to fit? And I think this is less likely. Even though you do have the ABC here. Now we don't, we can only go back so far here, but you can get the ABC to finish down here. And the 1, 2, this is deep, but of course it is an internal retracement, right? So put it in log scale, it stands out a little bit better. So it is when we get an ABC. Now possibly you've got a truncated C here, so you've gone A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get a truncation in the C here. I still prefer this as a 1, 2. So now coming back to that, so that would have us keeping the 3 here. And the 5, boy, so what does that leave, right? So let's just think about the alternate. Okay, so that would mean, we'd, fuck here, I'm looking for, so we're trying to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now does that, shit, right now that looks the more probable of the two, given the context that we have to put this on. I'll take it out of log scale. So then you think, okay, well let's do it by the numbers. Okay, so if this is going to be our 1, I'm just going to I'll just use the front edge of this, and this is, well, let's come down 50%. Okay, so let's put this into normal ranges. Log scale skewed us a little bit. Okay, would that? So there'd be the 2, 6, 1, 8 from this 1, 2, and then let me zoom in on this a little more. So what would that look like? So if we're going to go from this pivot here, we know this was technical, it was a perfect 50. If we're going to get something like that, so let's go to the 6, 1, 8, right? That's seems reasonable. So 1, 2, so this would put us, let's come here for the 3, 4, 5, 2, 6, 1, 8. That's going to be, that's Jesus Christ. So we're sitting here at 7,800 with a potential projection up here of 16,000. Is that possible? Well, it would make more. The symmetry would sure fit better. Let me reset this here. Seems hard to imagine, yet let's put it all back together. Is that possible? I think the 5, that could be just too much. So maybe I'm over projecting here for the 1 here. We're just now breaking in those new highs, but if you just do it by the book, that's kind of, if you just try and get a little bit lower, then we're at 14,000. Seems hard to imagine. So we'd be out, now we're going into 23, 24. Oh, shit, anything's possible here. So, fuck, all right, so I don't know that I'm helping you here much in terms of any new trades. So, it's hard to buy here in an all-time high. So you got to look at this and say, okay, let's take the more conservative approach. All right, let's go back to it just a daily. Say, okay, well, we know we're likely looking for the 5th of the 3rd here. So there will be a trade at some point here. We're going to get there'll be some retrace of some degree. So right now, we're just trying to finish the 3rd in blue here. So if and when we get a pivot up here for this 3, then the 4 really got to be your next place that you're looking here, unless you're buying the breakout here. So we got stops here, which likely is creating some of that fuel here. So all the people that had their stops sitting right here, that's fuel, right? You've heard me say it before. Sellers at highs create new highs. Buyers at lows create new lows. So here as we've kicked through this pivot and had all the fuel from the stops that were sitting there, we're just still going straight up, right? So I think And as far as trading on the index here, you got to be patient and wait for a retrace of some sort here. So even if we just map this out here as this contender here, so this is the 2, and I don't have this here, so I'm just kind of projecting as to possible locations. Well, we can see here a nice high volume node here where size could get some of their trades in. So this would put us here potentially here at the 38. We get some lower volume nodes here. So I'd be just, you're just going to have to be patient here. You're just going to have to wait for some sort of a retrace, looking for something like that, and then reevaluate as to whether or not that could be the top of the entire thing, or we're just putting in the one wave of a much larger fifth, which is yet to come, which per the history here seems more likely, which is just insanely bullish, right? It's just wildly bullish. But for this to be the 5 relative to that third, that seems less likely. Now, I'm not saying that's not possible. I'm just saying it's less likely. So for a new trade here, I think you're sitting on your hands. You're waiting for so even a 23, 35, a retracement in that range here, using maybe some of the structure here to look for some prior areas of, you can see here, resistance, maybe now we get something here, create some support for us, but it's tough to buy the all-time high here as we sit at an all-time high. I would not advise doing that. Well, let me rephrase that. I wouldn't do that. I'm going to just sit here and wait for a retrace. Right, so this, I'm surprised, right? That was so shallow, but look at the rip moving off of that. So I think you just got to be patient here. So is that tradable? Oh, hell yes. Well, we got to get a pivot here and then see what the subdivision looks like. And then that's, as that comes down, that'll be, of course, it's always a little scary to buy them when they're on their way down, but you got to look for structure, right? This kind of gives you an outline of where you can anticipate larger players to look to bury their size. So again, I don't have a pivot up here for this 5. So until we do and get some sort of retrace where we at least get something started where we get a lower high and then a lower low, which very, very few of those, with barely any retracements here. Until we get something like this, I think you just got to sit, if you're not in it and you're not benefiting from this through other positions in your portfolio, you just got to sit here and watch and marvel at the strength here and just hope there's an opportunity for a retrace here. We can have a degree of confidence as to where we are in the count with a 3 wave coming down like that to give us something to lean into here. But then there should be one more push, right? Of course, nothing's inevitable, but that's where the next opportunity for a trade is, right? So that's risk-reward parameters. That's the next opportunity I see here, guys. I don't think you can chase this as we're putting in all-time highs. This is my perspective on it. But waiting for the retrace, I sure would be watching this closely for that next opportunity. All right, guys. I'll be back with one more.